What up, what up, what up, everybody? How you all doing tonight? It's another Thursday here in the beautiful, I don't know, beautiful world, I guess it is. So what's going on? How you all doing tonight? We're back again. It's Thursday, July 14th, with another episode of Coffee and Cigars. And here we are. We are back in the original studio space. Today, I was actually planning on trying to get outside and do a setup similar to last week, but it's just too darn hot outside, just too darn hot, and I just didn't feel like doing it. So our new studio, because I've had it torn down since I was away, I haven't had the chance to set. I was planning really on going somewhere or going outside. So there's a lot of stuff that I didn't have set up, and then by the time I decided that I was going to do it that I wasn't going to go outside anymore, it was just a bit too late to set everything up in there. So ran back in here to our old space, and we're going to do the show here from here. How y'all doing tonight? Good to see all of you. Thanks for tuning in. And if you're watching the replay, thanks for watching. Appreciate you being here. As always, on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we do Coffee and Cigar, where we talk coffee and talk cigars and drink coffee and smoke cigars. So it's a pretty, chill and viable way to do things. So if you're joining us now, let me know in the comments down below where you're watching from, what you're smoking, what you're drinking. That's what I want to know. All right, on. So let's get into it right away. We're going to start off with our coffee. And so today I've got this contraption here. This is called the Caflano. And will it focus on it? Focus. Some way it won't focus. Forget it. The Caflano is this pressurized coffee brewing device that is from... Oh, Tony says, where is Zoe Toro and the ever-present Diet Cherry Pepsi? Where is Zoe Toro? Actually, speaking of the Diet Cherry Pepsi, I was at Giant yesterday, and I was looking around, and like, man, I was, they had the Diet Cherry Pepsis, the whole spread, or they actually had also the watermelon Mountain Dew and all that, and I was like, wow, man, those were like $8 a 12-pack. Is that 12-pack? Yeah, 12-pack. They're kind of pricey, huh? Wow. Anyway, Herrera. How did they get Zoe Toro out of Herrera Esteli? I don't know. That's crazy. Stupid Siri. Anyway, so we've got this. This is the Caflano, and it's this. I think we've used it here before. And today I brought it on because you can use... They say you can use this device for both hot brewing and cold brewing. And I figured that because, we've got it's a pressurized device, that's why they say you can use it for cold. So again, it's got this cap here. I'm not really sure what the cap is for, since I guess just to prevent it from, or it also is to keep it closed. So when you compress it down, right, you screw this in and it creates a vacuum seal that prevents it from opening, right? So we're gonna have that up there, right? And there's a mesh screen here, metal mesh screen here at the bottom. And then we have our chamber here. I don't recall how much this holds. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're going to take it and so Tony says, I only buy them with a 3 for 10, 3 for 11, somewhere in the neighborhood. I get that. Like, I normally buy the Coke Zero or the Coke Diet Coke, and like today I was at a Food Lion today, and I'm going to go back tomorrow and buy some. But they have the 12 packs, 3 for $12 right now. And I was like, ooh, that's good. But the Giant yesterday had the 12 packs for $7, and I was like, oh, that's too much money. Forget that. I'm too cheap. All right, so we're going to take our coffee, and today's coffee is a coffee that we've used a couple weeks ago. This is from the BSC, the Brazilian Specialty Coffee Association. My friends down there gave me this. It's a Brazilian coffee from the Minas Gerais region, and nice coffee, enjoyable. We're just going to take that. So as you can see in here, there's some bellows, right? It's this bellows chamber, and I'm just going to put that in here, and then, because we're doing a cold brew, we're going to add just regular cold water. So I'm going to fill that up. So yeah, that should be good. Look at that. I don't know if you can. Yeah, you can't really see it, but it's right to about there. I'm going to put that cap on. We're going to let that sit. Now I don't know if I can. Let me get the our stands. Okay, I can let it sit, and I was concerned that the compression of sitting would, cause it to fall and come out, but that's not the case, which is great. By the way, how is the sound coming through today? I'm since I've not used this since we moved downstairs. I changed the audio interface at my desk, and so it's a little bit different. So I just want to make sure that the sound is coming through nicely. And we're just going to let it sit for a few moments just to, infuse some of that flavor. We're going to press it, which is going to cause pressurization to force it through. But I figure we'll let it sit for a couple minutes, get in there, absorb that before we actually, do our thing. So while we're waiting, so released a video yesterday about this thing called I'm going to slide this over, about this thing called the Metalisk, which is this brewing device. And it's a Bialetti type of device that is a pressurized coffee brewer, quote unquote espresso. And it's a really great, stainless steel, induction friendly, and it's only $20 at IKEA. So it's a fantastic little brewer. And we made a video about it back in November of 2020. And I received a message from one of our viewers the other day. This guy, Florida Paradise, messages me and he's like, "Hey man, there's a recall on these Metalisks." And I was like, "What recall?" So I looked it up and released a video about it yesterday, just a real short one, that if you purchase one that was manufactured between September of 2020 and January of 2022, they will have a stainless steel safety valve. This one is a brass safety valve, so this is not covered by the recall. So the recall is if you have one of these with the stainless steel safety valve, just bring it back to IKEA. They'll give you a refund, no questions asked, no receipts necessary. And evidently something about this stainless steel valve is probably it doesn't release. So the theoretical problem is that if you put too fine coffee here and it clogs these holes, preventing the liquid to move from the lower chamber to the upper chamber, well, at the extreme it could explode. It could just force its way through the seal here and shoot out, potentially burning you. But at the very extreme, the whole unit could blow up. Although I imagine that unless you have some kind of fissure in the metal somewhere, it'll probably fail. The seal will fail or this will blow out. Either way, you don't want that to happen. So if you have the stainless steel one, make sure that you go by IKEA and get a new one or get a refund. Brian wants to know, has anyone had the hard Mountain Dew? I didn't know there was a hard Mountain Dew. Maybe someone's had it. All right, so let's have a look. Brian says, it sounds worth trying once. Are we talking about the hard Mountain Dew or the exploding Bialetti? All right, so let's take our glass. We're going to take this glass and we're going to put it on top of here and then turn it over. And now we're going to press. Oh, okay, we can press more. So theoretically, it's forcing it through. I guess that's everything. That doesn't look very appetizing, does it? Well, actually, it doesn't taste too bad. A little bit of fruitiness. Surprisingly, not terrible. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to try something else. We're going to go back here. We're going to take this off, right? And there's a little cake now at the top. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add another round of water. Because I'm not convinced there's enough, we'll see. But I'm not convinced there's enough pressure generated. I'm going to close this too, because I'm just going to set it aside. We're going to set it aside for like 15 minutes or something like that and wait for it to do its thing and see if that makes a better extraction than this. I mean, it doesn't looks cloudy and kind of scary to drink, but not bad. Actually, not bad flavor-wise. So what we're going to do also is we're going to take some ice because it's not that cold. We want it to be cold. I'm going to add some ice. See if that does a nice job with it. Kind of light and like lemony, even like, really light, lemony acidic, kind of bright, refreshing, not bad. Actually, what would be interesting would be to get some fresh mint and put that in here. That would be, that could be quite good. Actually, that's interesting. That's interesting. All right, so, let's have a look. Today's cigar we get from, of course, we're getting from Tobacco Leaf, but today's cigar is the Jacob's Ladder from Southern Draw, and this is a Lancero. It's pretty big. Like, what is this? This is, it doesn't say. I have no idea what it is. Let's have a look at what Half Wheel says on it. All right, so we've got the Southern Draw, Jacob's Ladder. This particular one was $13 from Raul at Tobacco Leaf. 6.5 by 40 box pressed lens. Box pressed? No, that's not right. This is not if it's a box press, it's very light. A very light box press. Yeah, that's totally different. Look at that. This image is definitely not the same. Okay, so that's not it. Forget that. Let's go to this other one. What do these guys say? Yeah, this is more like what we're looking at. The top rung. Using top quality tobaccos like Jalapa Ligero from Esteli, Nicaragua for the filler. Lancaster 401 broadleaf binder. Oh, interesting. Black cherry, coffee, savory molasses, cashews, and notes of cracked pepper. Oh, that's just for sale. Let's go to the developing palette. See what these guys say. So, or maybe it's $12. So it came out April 2018. So we're a little bit late to the party. And Tony's asking, is this the new AJ Fernandez one? I don't know. Let's have a look here. Oh, what's up, Rusty? How was work today, man? Good to see you. And have not tried the hard. What is the hard? Just add vodka to it. That could be something. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yes, this one, Tony, is made by Tabacalera Fernandez. And I'm saying that because if you notice on this image here, it says Jacob's. It's the same banding that the other ones have. And Tony says, I don't think new. I think, new as in 2018. It's definitely not new. What's up, Mom? Good to see you, man. How you doing? Welcome to the show, as always. Thanks for tuning in. We're doing the Jacob's Ladder from Southern Draw Cigars. We've already made some cold brew, kind of light, lemony kind of coffee that I wish I had fresh mint to add to it. because I think it would be really good. And now we're bringing another batch. These are a Brazilian Minas Gerais coffee. And so the Southern Draw, so it's in its own little. Oh, Rusty's racing home to light presents there. Excellent, excellent. Did you get one of these as well, Rusty? All right, we're going to open it up. And it's really long. How long is this supposed to be? Let's see, what are they saying? This is supposed to be 6.5 inches by 40. Pennsylvania broadleaf, Ecuadorian Maduro, Nicaragua filler from the Tabacalera Fernandez. Robert Holt is the blender. Is Robert Holt the owner of? I thought he owned another cigar company. Oh, Mom's already had this one. Oh, you love it already. Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, this did come out 4 years ago, so I'm a little bit late to the party. I've had the kudzu, which I liked, and I've had, what is it, the 300 hands, I think they called it, from Southern Draw. I've liked the cigars that I've had. I don't know too much about them. Oh, we've got our little like closed or shaggy foot here. Oh, well, let me get rid of this screen. Sorry about that. Sorry. There we go. So we've got our like. Will it focus? Will it focus? Will it? So not. It's nice looking. Right, it's nice, attractive. Little pigtail here at the end. Mm-hmm. A little bit of vein there, but nothing like that. You really can't feel it. You can just see it because it's a lighter shade. All right, let's get our scoring sheet here. I think I'm back to form again, so I can taste and score today. The feeling on the fingertips feel a little bit dry, like some really feel supple, like a nice supple leather. This one's a little bit on the drier side. It's been in the humidor, well preserved for the last 2 months, so it shouldn't be off. Maybe that's just how it feels. So, and Mom says he's a big fan of the Pennsylvania broadleaf. Excellent, excellent. I don't know if you've ever been out to PA to see the farms. I've driven about 5 years ago. I would do like these Tuesday sojourns where I would kind of like take a little mini vacation on Tuesdays because I kind of scheduled myself away from the shops and everything. And I kind of kept my schedule free. And I would usually on Tuesdays drive up into PA and just do something, ride the Stroudsburg Railway, go up to that Maple Valley smorgasbord, just kind of drive around and just, clear my head and do things. And that year it was like in August and I was driving around and I'd see some of these tobacco fields, and I'm guessing it's Pennsylvania broadleaf because they were like huge tobacco leaves on these plants. And I never saw a farmer, but I always wanted to like find a farmer and be like, hey man, can you tell me more about this? Can you tell me when you're going to sell this so I can come and watch? But Tony says, I didn't know it was Lancero Thursday, or else I would have. Well, it's on the schedule, my friend. It's on the schedule, but that's all right. That's all right. Lancero Thursday, we will let you know. We'll let you know. We'll have the schedule out again. All right, so we should. That's a little bit strange. The aroma that I'm getting from the wrapper kind of has the aroma of when you're smelling Lipton tea bags. When you smell the dry tea bag, that's kind of the aroma that I'm getting. That's kind of interesting. All right, let's cut our cigar now. I don't have my nice cutters here. They're all down in the studio. So we're going to use this El Cheapo Davidas cutter here, which is not a good thing because it's got this. One more slice. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit. This works better when we're outside. Not too bad. Not too bad. All right. So, of course, because the shaggy foot is covering the end of the cigar, the draw is a little bit tight right now. I'm not getting too much on a flavor on the cold draw. That's all right. We're going to light it up using our lighter. See what we can get. Not quite as exciting as the jet lighter, huh? Mm. You know, I haven't smoked in this space since we did our last show at the end of March. Buddy says it looks like a rollie with a label on it. Oh, that's cold, man. That's some cold. I just got off of my illness, man. My first show coming to taste cigars again, and you just stabbed me with this cold, cold dagger of rollie. Speaking of which, the I understand. My understanding is that they're going to do the Cuba Aliados thing again. I don't think it's with Rolando Reyes, but I heard my understanding is that maybe even the Puros Indios, I think they're going to restart. And Tony says his no-name Lancero was not a good first cigar. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. It's a no-name, like nobody, just one of those unknown. It's always disappointing when the cigar that you're trying just doesn't turn out well. Oh, it's kind of just got a medium chocolate color, right? So it's starting out. I'm trying to think of what the flavors are that I'm tasting. Like, I guess a tobacco, spicy tobacco-ness, maybe black pepper. Maybe some chocolate, some like dark chocolate, black pepper. I'd say that would be some definite. Maybe a little bit of red peppers, like dried red peppers. And I'm thinking that maybe because I was for dinner today, I made a lemon butter pasta with chicken piccata without the capers. I didn't have capers. But to make the lemon butter pasta, I use a little bit of red chili pepper, like dried chili pepper, and there's a little bit of that. Here. A little bit of red chili pepper. Let me write this down. Red chili pepper. Pencil here. Tony says Oliva bought Rolly, Cuba Alias, and Lurks Indios. Must be Puros Indios from the grandson. Okay. Hopefully they'll bring back those cigars. When they bring them back, they'll be equivalent to their original glory. Like when Cuba Aliados and Puros Indios came out, they were like great. Now, also the question is, were they great? Would we think they're great cigars today if they were the same? Because we're talking now over 20 years since they've been out. So, our palates have developed in a different, have developed since that point. So would we even enjoy them today? I'm curious. I'm curious now. Now it's getting a little bit busier, a little more spicy, a little bit more depth, complexity. Interesting smoke. And Tony says the interesting side note is AJ Fernandez already makes a Cuba Aliados Limitada for one of the cigar catalogs. Oh, have you tried that one yet, Tony? And do you recall how it might compare to the original? I still have a number of, I think, Puros Indios from, I don't know from what era. I think it was later in Puros Indios' history. But, probably almost, now that we're in 2022, it's probably almost 20 years old. And Brian saying, that's like saying if I tried $2 Chuck, would I like it as much as any wine in my cellar? I mean, is $2 Chuck that good? I mean, I think we can enjoy different things, even though they may not be the greatest. Like, for example, your comment about the $2 Chuck makes me think, like, there's that $16 Italian wine, the Rusticana, and it's the one that has the raffia on the out the bottle. They wrap it in, not, they just have like a couple strands of raffia, right? I think it's called the Rusticana, and maybe it's Montepulciano de Rusticana, whatever it is, but it's about $16, and I think it's a nice, juicy, fruity wine that's fun to drink with a lot of like different pastas. But does my enjoying that detract, or somehow it's not as enjoyable as some of my favorites, like the Chateau de Beaucastel from Chateauneuf de Pape? No. I think we can enjoy them all, much like we can enjoy these different cigars. I think. Tony says, yes, I bought Lanceros because they're like $70 a box, and it was tasty. That's the Cuba Aliados Limitada for the catalog company. Okay. Puerto Indios because it was cheap and good enough. But I remember when we were like I think later, Brian, I think you're definitely right. Like later in its run, Puros Indios had lost some of that magic, right? Like when it first came out in the like maybe mid to late 90s, I think there was a lot of excitement, there was a lot of enjoyment around that cigar. But before it really faded away, it had the quality of the cigars were not equivalent to. And I don't remember, I think there was some big shakeup with the company from their early period to like into the early 2000s. Because it didn't have the same flavor. I don't think it had the same cachet. Like maybe that really changed when the Rollies came out, right? When the Rollies came out, that's kind of when it changed. Maybe. I don't know. It's hard for me to recall. It's we're talking like 20 years now. It's a long time ago. But I get it. If it is, I mean, if we presume that a cigar is still good, even though it's cheap, I think we can still enjoy it. But if it's cheap and just tastes cheap and doesn't taste good, then yeah, that's not worth the time. I don't think. Tony says there is a churros in the U.S. Britannica Deluxe in the casket at my shop that I may just have to smoke a reminisce. Wow, man, that is some serious stuff going on there. You keep Encyclopedia Britannica in a casket. But I never thought I was above good. Back then it was Fuente Chateau. Oh, okay. But Fuente Chateau has always been considered to be a good cigar, right? Although I don't know, like towards the end of like that popularity era for Puros Indios, I don't even know if it was. No, it probably was that as good as. You're probably right. You're probably good as a Chateau Fuente. I think you're probably right. From Puros Indios from 2000 in the casket next to the encyclopedia At your shop. Okay, gotcha. So I just tapped it out. I don't, just because I felt like it feels like it's taking too long. So far, enjoyable flavors: the spice, the black pepper, dark chocolate, that little bit of red chili pepper. It's enjoyable. It's not taking my palate by storm, but it's not disappointing either, right? It's pleasant, it's enjoyable. It's got enough oomph so that there's still interest. And for the size, because it's a 40 ring gauge, the draw and the smoke production is commensurate. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. So what about the rest of you guys? Anything else you're smoking out there? I'm interested to know. I've been what have I been doing this past week? I've been I was one of the people that I follow. I follow this channel called on YouTube called Chinese Cooking Demystified. It's this husband and wife team. The wife is Chinese. The husband is from the United States, white guy. And they got married. He was there for school, I think, and whatever. And he speaks fluent Chinese, Mandarin. And it's a great channel because they break it down how to cook different Chinese foods. And they're really, really well done. And I really enjoyed them. So, let's see. Wait a minute. Britannica Deluxe is the 12 by 60 ring gauge oversized Hemingway. Oh, interesting. That's different than the Chief, that big 2-foot Chief. And Brian says he remembers Tony smoking that Monster Indios. I made it halfway and just gave on it, and life. I think I don't know, but I think when I have the Chief, right? I've never smoked one, but I mean, and then was it Roma Craft at one point made that femur, that 130 ring gauge by I don't know, like this long. I saw the mold for it when I was in the factory years ago. Ridiculous. Like these cigars, I don't know, but when you get to a certain size of cigar, like beyond Salamone, I think there's a point where you're just kind of like I've had enough and I need to stop. And then Rusty's home finally making a Japanese ice of Ethiopia cola. Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, this is a fun smoke. So far, with the kind of bright and light cold brew. Now, let's see. This has been sitting here for a good 20 minutes now, I think. So let's see how it goes. The color still looks the same. I don't know if it's really doing much kind of extraction. Let's cover that. Yeah. I think Rusty has some nice coffee for that Ethiopia cola. 23 minutes. Okay, 23 minutes for our brewing here. Let's see how that impacts. There's definitely deeper complexity. And it has toned down that lemony brightness. Actually, I think it was better the other way. Now there's a little bit of chalkiness, a little bit of dryness. I think because it's been sitting for so long. The less extraction version was better. And Tony says we can all get the Oscar Valladares Woody's 36 by 100 ring. Whoa, 3 feet by 100 ring. Jeez, that's crazy. That's crazy. I think that will kill the party. And how about you, Mom? Have you had any of these big ring gauge cigars? Big and long? I think the biggest that I've ever tried was a Salomon. The last Salomon I had was actually, gosh, it was a long time ago. It was like 2015, from what I recall. And I was in Dubai at the La Casa de Labano in Dubai. And they had it was a red band, not a part, I don't think it was Partagas, but it was a big Salomon A size. And I smoked it. I think it was good. It wasn't awesome because I think like truly awesome cigars I tend to remember, but that was good. It was probably like $50. Speaking of which, it reminds me, like when I was in Sao Paulo, we went by a cigar lounge because I wanted to check it out, and the intention was to do the live stream from there, if you recall. Unfortunately, we ran out of time that day to get out to the lounge again, because getting anywhere in Sao Paulo is actually, it takes some time. And the prices for Cuban cigars are like crazy expensive now. Like after after Cuba Tobacco decided to par all the pricing with Pacific Cigar distributors in Hong Kong, I mean, we're talking astronomical. I mean, it's crazy pricing, crazy. Like I forgot exactly how much, but it was like, even to me, it was shocking. Like the Bejique, like I actually have a photo of it. I don't know if I showed it to you before, but let me look that up here for a moment. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Oh, I don't know the conversions. Oh, and you really can't see it, but like here, this is the Cohiba Bejique 54. I don't know if you can see that too well, but as you can see here, it's 1,680 reais. And 1680. Holy crap, that's way more expensive than I expected that to be. Okay, so 1,680 Brazilian reais. Wow, that is $309.72 for one cigar. Whoa. That is insanity. Here, let me show you the conversion. There it is. 1,680 reais is $309 for one cigar. Oh my gosh. That is just insane. That's insane. So yeah, Cuban prices now are just astronomically ridiculous. I will no longer be smoking those cigars. I don't know what I said a few moments ago. Like, oh, let's do that. Oh yeah, that's not. I didn't calculate those correctly. So we're moving into the second or third. And it's nice. So far, it's nice. Let's see the first third. We had our red chili peppers. We had dark chocolate. Black pepper. Spice. Maybe like an allspice. I'd say medium plus body. So I'm giving it 8s on flavor and body. Excuse me. I still have a little bit of a cough, but not too much. So for those who don't live in the area, we had a big storm Tuesday. Was it Tuesday? Tuesday. A big storm come through. And actually, right here, right where the roastery is, I was standing at the doorway. And man, it's almost like tornado style winds. Like it wasn't tornado, but there was some stuff swirling. I was like, for a moment, I actually got really scared. I was like, oh, I could be in big trouble now. I could be in deep trouble. And I was trying to think of if it really did turn out to be a tornado, where would I run? But anyway, so luckily nothing really happened. We lost power. I lost power at my house, so that was misery. And but I had these tomatoes that I planted this year, and like a couple of them are growing very prolifically, like they're just like massive. And I totally was unprepared for these tomatoes to be like growing. So I didn't really have the right kind of trellising for them. And so I had these sticks, these like, these gardening poles, but they're just insufficient to hold it up. So the three of the tomato plants got knocked down, damaged, and I lost 4 of these like Cherokee purple tomatoes. Like they're like getting sizable, like they're getting good size. And so, they're still green. So today I had some fried green tomatoes for lunch because I had to utilize them. What a shame if I didn't. And they're nice and meaty and they're super, like they're big. Like I had 2 tomatoes. And really, a friend of mine stopped by and he probably had half or at least 3/4 of one, or maybe he had a whole one. Like, I think 1 tomato is plenty. Like, it's pretty big. So, all right, there we go. Rusty just pulled out a Herrera Esteli limited edition Lancero. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Good to see it. Good to see it. Brian's asking, is his brother Steve's out there yet? Steve, you out there yet? Let us know. Let us know when you're here. And Rusty says it's cooler outside than in my house. Oh, man, that sucks. Yeah, we're inside because when I was going to do this outside like we did last week, but it was really just too hot when I was going to set it up around 7. And I was like, oh, I don't feel like being out here sweating my butt off. So I just decided to come inside and power up the old space. And Brian's 68 in cigar room with door and window open, window on high, and window AC on high. Well, that's good. That's great. That's great. Actually, in my space, right? Those of you who've been here know I've got this massive 30,000. Oh no, I think it's only 20,000 BTU air conditioner. Maybe it's 30. It's pretty big. It's way oversized. Like when I'm working here in the daytime and it's hot outside, I'm like freezing at times. I'm like, if I have it set really low, it's like cold. Like there's times I'm trying to think about, okay, how do I turn it off? But in my space, when you turn it off like 5 to 10 minutes later, it's starting to get pretty hot. So, we're dissipating a lot of heat. It's not the most, lead efficient space. But where I place the exhaust system is too close to the air conditioner. So it kind of, even though right now I've got the air conditioner focus sending the cold air down so it comes in here, even on the lowest setting, the fan is blowing. It's sucking hard enough that it's pulls a lot of the air conditioned air right out of those space before it even gets to me. So kind of sucks in that respect. Still a lot to learn about this whole HVAC and smoke extraction technology. Ryan says your AC is for a home and not your office, but it feels, even though it's for the home, it would have been, had I not, so because basically, as you know, there's the air conditioning input, right? So it's blowing cold air in, and basically the exhaust is right above it. So it's like, oh, that was not a very smart way to do it. And at one point I was going to move the exhaust intake to a different part, but by that point I had already cut the trunk line, and like, even though I had like another 10 or 15 feet left of the trunk line, I had thrown it away because I didn't think I was ever going to need it. And then I was like, oh man, do I want to spend the money and all that? And just disaster. It's just, amateur hour. It's amateur. It's still amateur. We're still amateur hour with this whole extraction thing. I'm going to peel this off. None of you guys been following online, but the Premium Cigar Association, the PCA show, was held in Las Vegas this past weekend. And I saw some of the guys that I know that were there. They've been posting Facebook. Look kind of interesting. Look kind of fun. I thought I'd miss going, but I really don't, because, man, it's just so expensive to fly right now. Like, I'm sure we'd be like $1,200, $1,100, anywhere between $700 to $1,200 to fly to Vegas. And then, hotels there are not cheap, and nothing's cheap. And it's like, it's not like the old days when you could fly to Vegas for $250, rent a car for $15 a day, get a room for like $70 a night. Like, those are good times, man. Good times. But your exhaust is big enough for a Costco warehouse, but it does work too great. It does. But here's the thing. It's like, we're still, I mean, it sucks a lot of air, that it does. But like I've learned with this space, and in my experiences traveling around, the placement is not so great, right? So for example, I kind of designed the space or the exhaust kind of after this place that I smoke cigars in Tokyo, right? At this cigar shop, and they have this exhaust fan right above the bar. And I would sit there at this bar smoking like a revenge. Maybe there's a couple of people smoking cigarettes, and they only have this one little vent above the bar. And man, it never gets that smoky. Like, it's never like too much. And I mean, people are smoking. It's crazy. Like, I'm like, it never feels too thick for me when I'm there. But here, if I sit at the bar itself in the space, I think the extraction works very well because it's right above and it pulls up. But if I'm sitting anywhere else in the room and it has to pull it across the room, even though we've got, like, the doors open so that there's plenty of flow, it doesn't work as well. I really have come to the point after visiting different places, like this one lounge in Saudi Arabia, and talking to that guy Gary up in New Jersey at the Davidoff Lounge, the exhaust ports really need to be above where you're sitting in order for it to be of great effect. Like, I really wanted to put one right above me. Like, that's where I was going to run a second line. But yeah, I just I really do. I've really come to that point where it's like the places that I've been to that were the best, like that at the Sheraton Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. They have this room where it's a cigar lounge, and you can see over. And my friend who was an engineer was with me, and he was like, he's pointing out, like, you can see where they changed the exhaust systems, or at least the exhaust ports. And now that they're over each seating area, it worked great. On that same trip, I was in Frankfurt at the new La Casa de la Bono in Frankfurt, and we went there, and they have this gorgeous underground cavern, like cave bar, and like it's super awesome, like super sexy space, right? And they have this massive exhaust system above the bar, and it's kind of like this. Imagine this large box, right, with like maybe 20-foot high ceilings, but everything has to flow that way into that little space. It doesn't work as well as that like old 1980s era Sheraton Riyadh. So really, I've really come to that point where, and Gary told you the socks have to be, yeah, they have to be above the chairs, man. Brian says, smoke this. Yeah, man, I've been very, I don't know what happened to me over the last, 15 years, I think it is. I've really become much more sensitive to a lot of excess smoke, like to the point where that when you get to real smoky environments, it detracts from my experience. Like I don't enjoy the cigar experience as much. Like when the guy from 1502 was in town a few weeks ago, we went to the lounge that's close to where Brian lives, over on Lock Raven Boulevard, and it's Smoke and Burn, or the Burn Lounge, whatever it's called. And it's super, and there's only maybe 7 of us in this space, and it's at least a 1,500 square foot like commercial area. And man, after a little while, man, it was heavy. For me, it was heavy. I was like, yeah, I like to have it. I think that I think that's the best way to do it. Put it above the seating areas, multiple ports, even like, and remember the one that for Gary at the Davidoff lounges, they were only 6-inch ports, right? They fit in like regular Parcan fixtures type of holes. And because he had them over the seating areas, they worked really well, really, really well. Brian says the smoke isn't devastating during, but after I get, oh wow. Yeah, see, I don't have the headache problem after. It's just that I'm just not enjoying myself. Like I'm just too much smoke around me, and just I don't have. I'm happy to say that I don't have after effects later. Well, maybe more coughing because you've got all this smoke, but. And what I also don't like, and all of you guys that used to hang out at Faders, you could go there to Faders for 5 minutes and just walk in the space, and there was so much stagnant smoke that, your clothes would smell like, in a nice vented place, you could smoke a whole, 2-3 cigars and not have that heavy smoke aroma. And that's really, to me, that's kind of the true. Those are the indications of success in exhaust, is that if you can go and smoke and not feel smoked up, and then you can leave and not smell tremendously like you're reeking. Like I remember leaving Faders at times, just sitting in the car, like, oh my gosh, I think I'm reeking of it. That's probably what broke me too, man. That's probably like it was bad. It was like I remember I would go. Like maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago, Thursday nights they would have the Towson Farmers Market right on the street in front of Faders, and I would go there every Thursday and buy a bunch of stuff. And so if I bought some perishables, and I wasn't leaving right away, I would run into Faders, toss them in the refrigerator just to hold it while I would want to continue more. Just the act of walking in, dropping it off in the refrigerator, and then going back out, man, I could smell it on me already, and I was only in there 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Man, it's tough. It's tough. That was tough. So we're well into the second third now. And come on. It should still be centered. There we go. And it's burning. It's burning well. It's burning well. Flavors are still, consistent. I was going to say stagnant, but that's pejorative, and it's not. And the consistency is not it's still enjoyable. So it's not a stagnant where it'd be bad. Starting to get a little bit of unevenness on the burn, as you can see right here. Right? Will it focus again? So bizarre when it's I think because you know what? I think because of the way that I have it set up now at the desk here, the camera is much closer to me than I'm used to now lately. So if I hold it, I think I have to be 2 feet away in order for it to, or at least 18 inches away for it to lock correctly. So what's been on the telly for you guys? I've been I finally saw the first episode of Westworld. I know there's 3 of them out, but I only saw the first one. And I don't recall really what happened in the last season. So I know they were in the real world now, and we're somewhere in the future. And Aaron Paul has left Breaking Bad and is now with us. And I don't really recall everything, but the first episode was pretty enjoyable. No Jeffrey Wright, so looks like when Felix Leiter died, he died along with it. What a shame! What a shame. Hopefully, Felix Leiter will return. Which, you know, reminds me, speaking of Felix Leiter, as you know from the last Bond movie, Felix Leiter was killed. And if you recall back to the late 80s, Felix Leiter was also killed in License to Kill. So, and they said that James Bond will come back. So even though we've killed James Bond, he's still going to return. So I imagine that means that it will come back again. Felix, that's what I'm guessing. Oh, there we go, Rusty. I'm glad you said that because I totally forgot that I had watched that. Watching The Bear for the second go around, and you know, you guys were talking about that last week, The Bear, and I was really intrigued. So I looked it up and I watched it, and you know, to be honest with you, like when I started the first episode and the first 5 minutes of The Bear, I just kind of hated it. I was just kind of like, what is going on? Where are we going? I don't care. I don't have any empathy for what's happening in the first 5 minutes. I'm bored. I almost turned it off. I was like, I'm going to turn this off. And I said, let me stick with it for a little bit longer. And then it just, but within 10 minutes into the show, I was like, oh, okay, I'm watching now. I'm watching. And I thought it was very good. It's weird. Like, I don't know about you, Rusty. Like, you definitely have more of the hardcore kitchen experience than I have, you know. I've been in a relatively, I think in some ways, you know, there's a lot of similarities between the conditions of kitchen life and conditions of set life on movie sets. There's that similar type of like hierarchy and like, you know, brigade kind of structure. Like, you know, in motion pictures, we're like waging a war we're following our glorious leader, the director, who has to battle the producers who nobody really likes. So they're like the producers, the politicians, and then the director's like the general, right? And so you're battling to make this movie, and it just sucks most of the time. And the only thing that makes it worthwhile is that you're making hopefully some kind of beautiful art. But more importantly, it's really just about the people you work with. And so, and when it comes to the kitchen world, you know, and coffee world, like I've created my own domain. So I've been able to, I didn't have to work necessarily under someone and live in their world. Like I created my own. And so I could be benevolent as much as I wanted to or not. And I thought that, but I was watching, I read some reviews, and one review was talking about how it's the most stressful thing on TV. And I was like, I don't think it was stressful. I think it was like, I didn't have the kind of reaction that a lot of, I guess, regular people had to it. Like I didn't think it was terrible. I mean, to me, it just conditions seemed normal, like all the dysfunction and all the the anger and the bravado, and it just seems kind of how it is. Brian says, what we do in the shadows, fourth season is rolling. Oh, I haven't even seen the first couple seasons. I'll have to check that out too. Picked up a lot more nuance. What any particular nuances you found that were really notable in the second go around? Brian says, the bear, I can only want to watch episode 1. Actually, I binged it. Like, the only reason I didn't continue binging in any particular session was because I had work to do, and I was like, I got stuff to catch up on, or I'm working. I was editing one of the videos at the time, so I was like, so I would watch it during meals, and maybe like watch one episode, and then maybe 2 episodes, and then come back. But really, I started, I think, on Saturday morning. I was done by Sunday afternoon. I mean, I powered through the whole thing. I was like, oh, this is some good stuff. But I love some of the, like, for me, some of the nuances that I really enjoyed were, you know, what is the saying that they put on the tape? They put a tape very much like the French Laundry. I think they had it on a piece of tape on a table. The sense of urgency. And I you know, when Keller came out with that, I always loved that. That was always like a big, for me personally and my team, that was always a big focus of what we were doing, you know, and I think that's and we had it on tape. We put it on tape on top of the register. So on top of the register screen, if you sat at the register, it says a sense of urgency. So I really related to that in a very symbiotic way. But I think that, like, I wonder if how people, you know, perceive that don't know that world. Because, like, I remember when we'd get new people in, be like, you know, you have to teach them. It's like the sense of urgency is it's not about working faster necessarily, right? Like, you want to work fast, but speed has to come from efficiency. You can't just go fast because you start going fast without the efficiency, without the skill, without the mastery, and everything starts to fall apart. So the sense of urgency is trying to do it in an urgent manner. I thought that was, I just love that. I love that. I love it. I love it. I mean, I think if one thing to the world of hospitality, I think that's probably the greatest slogan for the world of hospitality that Keller has brought to the table. Rusty says, I've never worked in mission level kitchens, but it's pretty accurate. But just how the behavior and demeanor of the kitchen staff. Oh, yeah. Okay, gotcha. I mean, I think it's interesting. Like, I do wonder, like, in the show when they're depicting him as the Sioux with that guy that's just beating up on him at that Michelin restaurant. You know, they talked about how they inferred that he worked for Noma. So is that guy supposed to be Rene Redzepi? And is that really how Rene treats his staff? And it does make me wonder, like, you know, I'm an outsider to that world, right? And, you know, I do look at the world of fine dining with a bit of rose-colored lenses, right? Like, I project what I think it should be like, or what it would be like. Like, when I work with my team, there's a bit of pressure on our baristas and our baking staff, but I don't think that I'm a tyrant in the way that some people have been depicted. And it makes me wonder, watching this makes me wonder, like, you know, we hear about places, people like Rene Redzepi, Thomas Keller, Eric Repair, you know, all those guys. And, like, we have such a benevolent, I think there's such a benevolence about them, this aura of benevolence, but in their own kitchens with their own team, no matter how much beauty they are projecting, are they these crazy maniacal tyrants like Jeff Winger, what's his name? Joel Hale's character in, I wonder. That's what I wonder. Brian says, I had an ex-con come in with a knife in a long-term care kitchen. Whoa. After he lit a 5-pound block of butter on fire and wow. Lit a pound of, and then came out with a knife. It's kind of like how Sydney stabbed Richie. I was like, oh, damn, she really did that. Rusty says, I'm going to put that on blue tape, all the kitchen stations and fall. You should, man. I mean, I put it on our register so that every barista, everybody would see it because that's who they clocked in as well. So it was always part of our thinking, our methodology. But what I really liked is I think the blue tape is nice, right? And specifically the 3M blue tape. Like I had for a while, we had blue tape that was from some off-brand because I got it cheap, and it was this really dark blue tape, and it was cheap and it sucked. Like the writing surface sucked, too slick. It wasn't nice quality. It didn't feel good, but what I really love was using yellow tape. Yellow tape, I think the yellow just looks so sharp. Here at the roaster, we use a green tape. Rusty says that wasn't Rene Redzepi. It was in a kitchen. Did they say it was a kitchen in New York City? Okay, I missed that detail. I was just wondering because they said he ran a kitchen too, like the best kitchen in the world. So if it's in New York City, it's the best kitchen in the world. I mean, what per se? Oh, another detail that I noticed as I was watching that I thought was really, really interesting was the lighting, right? Like, and since you're watching this second time, let me know if you concur with this. But like, when the show starts, when the series starts, and as Sydney comes in, like it's grimy and like a little bit dark, but as the series progresses, and they all start to get more on board and start to refine themselves, the kitchen gets cleaner because, of course, they're clean. But I think it looks to me that the lighting is brighter, like they're coming into the light. Like I thought that was really a great detail. I was like, that's awesome. That's an awesome detail. I know the cheap blue tape we have. Who got it? Was the $5 is worth it. The $5 is worth it. Oh, that was 11. Okay. So is that supposed to be Daniel Hum, the head chef there, or is he supposed to be Daniel Hum? I have not been to 11 since before they made the change to a vegetarian menu. We went there many years ago and had a wonderful meal, really enjoyable meal. Not the best I've ever had, but very good, very good. I still think the best I've ever had was per se. No, I don't know if you've ever worked in a place like this, but like the whole thing about him cutting the tape, we did that. I do that still today. Like all the tape is cut with scissors. When people would join us at Spro, we would teach them scissors. Everything is cut with scissors, and it's a little detail. It's true. Like Keller said this years ago when I read about it. He was like, "It's a little detail, but it communicates so much." And I think that's so true. Like when you look at like your pantry and you have this tape that's all, the writing is legible and clear, and everyththing's cut with like right angles. Man, it looks sharp, man. Sharp. Man, it just totally. I was totally like loving that moment. I was like, "Oh, I love it." And then they're using the tape cutter, right? The tape roll. I've always thought about buying one, but I was always kind of cheap. Like I think they were like $25 at the restaurant store. But they also had the little jaggedy edges, and I was like, "Oh, I don't like the jagged. I like this. I like." Plus, I like the discipline of teaching people to have the discipline to cut. I think that just shows that greater attention to detail. And that's really what we want. And that's part of what we're trying to teach our staff at Spro, is that we want everyone to have a very high level of attention to detail, that we're trying to make the very best coffee and baked goods that go with the coffee, or anything that goes with the coffee in Baltimore. Like we want to be the best. Like that's part, and I think that's part of it. That detail is a big part of it. I don't know if it's supposed to be Hum, but you're asking them. Oh, okay. Gotcha. We went to yeah, I'm too cheap for that, man. I'm like, why would I spend $25 when I already got the scissors? I don't know. I do. I mean, I have over the years in recent times, like every time I go to the restaurant store, I'm like, maybe I should buy it. Maybe I should buy it. But I don't know. Because especially since, like, I don't know if you have this problem, but like, so we're cutting the tape, and every couple months I have to go and get the isopropyl alcohol and like clean off the blades because the adhesive gets on the blade, so it's all like sticky. But yeah, so I did enjoy the show. I wonder if they're going to do another season. And it's like, okay, so they got the money. That's what I didn't understand. So he takes a loan. Michael takes a loan from that guy, $300,000, and he wraps them up in cling film in these bundles, and somehow gets this company to can them with the tomatoes. But to what end? Was Michael planning on killing himself? So he wanted to get the 300,000, hoping that when he dies, it washes that debt away, and then he could use it. I don't know. That's one thing. And then Rusty says the one thing I do not agree with is calling everyone chef. The title should be earned, not just thrown. I think that I hear what you're saying. I totally understand that thinking, but and we never use the term chef in Spro because we're baristas and we're making coffee, and I don't know, it seemed kind of odd. It didn't seem like, I mean, it could be utilized, and maybe at one point, maybe I'll try that. But I think that the use of calling people chef, even though they haven't quote unquote earned it, because I think it could be used when they're using that way, it's also aspirational. Like, we're calling you chef. We call you chef because we're respecting what you do, and we're expecting you to, by calling you that, I think it's also, we're expecting you to step up, to be worthy of that title. Like, you already know, if you like, and I think that's part of their story with what was her name? The Hispanic lady, the one that would be like, I don't speak English. Like, especially in her case, like, they call her, you call someone like that chef, and like you do it repeatedly, and you're showing that, and you're always striving to work at a level of excellence. And so maybe that inspires the people to rise to that level, to become worthy of being called chef. So that by starting out, by giving them that honorific, they live up to that honorific. And I think in that kind of world, I think that's perfectly fine. Plus, the nice thing about chef is that it's one syllable, chef. Barista, that's three. It's cumbersome to use something else. Jefe, that's a good one. But now that they're at this point where they've got the money, and they're going to close down and build it into the Bear, and the drawings that we saw, it's some fancy, dining. It makes me wonder what it's going to be like. Does everything have to go to that level of hipster beautiful? Can it? Why not continue with serving normal, or I guess quote unquote normal, or quote unquote pedestrian food, but in an elevated environment? Do you need to go and make? I guess you do. I mean, I don't know. That's what I wonder about. Another thing that season 2 is in the works. Okay, good. Another thing that I didn't understand, like, and I don't know the Chicago world of food very well, but the Italian beef is obviously their inspiration for this restaurant. But I noticed they had chicken and all these, like, what did they serve there? And I don't understand, like, was it, I remember seeing one of the episodes where it's everything's to go. They have some tables, and then they're still serving on plated. So I didn't really understand what the menu is supposed to be about. Rusty says there's so much about this show that I want to instill in my class in the fall. Oh, nice. Yeah, there's a lot to instill, I think. And I really enjoyed how the baker really got into, he was the one that was like the most open to like the change and like stepping up and using that Noma recipe book as a kind of a springboard for experimentation. But one thing that I was kind of wondering about, and I don't know what you might think about this, but like, I believe the restaurant was in trouble financially, right? So they were financially struggling. They couldn't pay their bills. They couldn't get deliveries. Instead of getting 250 pounds of beef, they got 25 pounds of beef. But the baker, like, he's baking all this stuff, and like he's having to me, it looked like he was having a free for all. Like, ingredients and equipment were not really a big consideration. Well, he didn't really have that much equipment, but ingredients were no big deal. Like, no consideration. He's just making whatever. I'm going to make donuts. I'm going to make cakes. I'm going to make this. I'm going to make that. I'm going to experiment with this. I'm going to try to like hold this humidified environment. I just didn't know. I just felt like if you're really in an environment where bills can't get paid and you can't get deliveries, how can you just go and like make all this stuff? And I realize that this is over a period of months, but still, that's the part to me that kind of rang a little bit like questionable. But this kind of leads back to what I was saying earlier. So one of the channels I follow is Chinese Cooking Demystified, and they had a post today that they were writing about, and they were asking people, about their thoughts on setting up their kitchens. And they were saying that from what they seem to get feedback from, that most people, their kitchens are really designed to support one or two different types of cuisines, right? American, Italian, something like that. And like the question they were asking to their viewership was, what actually, let me look that up. That way I can show you. That way I can get what they're saying correctly. Here it is. So I have a question to that's up. Which cuisines do you consider your kitchen set up for? And he talks about, yeah, I don't know. That's a lot to read. Well, but basically, what kind of cuisines are your kitchen set up for? And I was thinking about my response to it, and for me, it's like, I think that, like, here, like, I do most of my cooking here at the roastery. I can cook at home, and I do have a lot of gear at home. Actually, I've got a lot more gear at home than I have here, but I do most of the cooking here, and I do a wide variety of cooking, from Chinese to Italian to French to Filipino, Thai, Japanese, Middle Eastern, Brazilian, South American, Central American, Mexican. And I don't really think that there's, presuming that you can get the ingredients that you need, I don't know if there's really much to set up for. Like, maybe the most like I said in my comment to them, was one of the most esoteric things that I have in this kitchen is a traditional clay Japanese donabe, which is a pot, a double capped clay pot for cooking rice. That's probably the most exotic thing I have, plus the 14-inch carbon steel wok. But outside of that, it's all a combination of carbon steel fry pans, a couple of nonstick fry pans, cheap aluminum ones, and then a bunch of saucepans. And with that combination, I pretty much cook everything or anything that I'm interested in. So I don't know. I don't know. I know people are kind of they say that they're only set up for a couple cuisines, and I think people that's because maybe that's what they're comfortable with cooking. Like of course Filipino cooking. Like I know Filipinos that only cook Filipino food. That's all they really know. That's all they've tried. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Any thoughts on how your kitchens are set up and what kind of food you guys are really set up to make, or are there foods that are outside of your realm? Because I think that it's really just a matter of ingredients, and also I find that in my cooking that there's a lot of ingredients that are shared across many cuisines. Like I can easily make a Middle Eastern style shakshuka with what I have on hand now, and it's really just garlic, onions, peppers, tomatoes, the most exotic part of eggs, parsley or green pepper, green onions, whatever you have around. Like the most exotic part of that dish is the cumin. Like that's really the one main ingredient that separates it as Middle Eastern and shakshuka is the cumin. So let's go. We're past the second third, getting into the last third. Still very consistent. I mean, I have to say it's been a very consistent cigar so far. I'm going to give it the same score, 8s, all the way across for flavor and body. How are you guys cigars doing? Oh, another thing that I want to toss out there that we are set now for August 20th for our 100th anniversary, 100th episode. We're going to do that here just like we planned before. We should be good to go now. So looking forward to having all here. Rusty says, my classroom kitchens are set up like home kitchens. We just have specialized pans or equipment depending on cuisine. I mean, I think that for me, for me personally, and at this kitchen, this is the greatest advantage here for me cooking at home is the space. Like I've got a lot of workspace to work with. I have less burners, right? Like I mainly just use one tabletop butane burner, and that's how I use that's what I use for wok cooking. And then I also have one induction hob that I use as well. That between those two, that's pretty much that, and those two in the oven is pretty much everything that I have to use to cook. And I do have other additional inductions. I got 2 more induction tops that I could use if I want to. Plus, I think I have another 3 butane burners if I needed them. But for the most part, I never really have the need for more than the 2 that I'm using now. But I think the greatest advantage is that I've got a bunch of work tables that I can use to cut and chop and do all. But really, most of it happens on a 4x30 or maybe 5x30 table. But my next thing I'm planning to make is some pão de queijo. When I was down in Brazil, one of the guys that was one of our judges, he owns a place called Pato Rei, this coffee shop. And they do really nice stuff, really interesting stuff. And he was like, man, you need to try the real deal cheese. Because evidently there's a real like specific cheese. And he's like, I got the best. He gave me a hunk of it. So this is the best quality cheese for Brazil. So I brought it home. It's in the refrigerator at the house. But I'm like, okay, I got to make it, but I want to utilize it, but I don't want to waste it, meaning that I want to make so I'm planning to make the recipe first using other cheeses just to like get the practice before I use that. Are we just bringing cigars we want to smoke, or is the one or more we're always smoking? I thought about like, we should have it like everybody smokes in, but you know what? It's going to be a long day of cigar smoking. So bring some cigars. We're going to have some cigars. There's going to be plenty of cigars, so you can smoke them at your leisure. I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. But I'm open to any kind of suggestion or desire, maybe for like certain segments of the broadcast. We'll smoke particular cigars. Maybe that's what we'll do. But one of the key ingredients that the guys in Brazil were telling me about this pão de queijo is tapioca flour. And I've been looking at the grocery stores, and I went to the Latino market, the local Latino market. Nobody has this tapioca flour. And there's something about tapioca flour that has this really like chewy texture that's really important for pão de queijo. So maybe tomorrow, but I'm like, I can't find it, so I'm getting a little bit desperate. So I might go down there. I found out there's a Brazilian market here in Baltimore, so I might go there tomorrow morning to go check it out. But I thought for sure the Latino market would have this. I mean, maybe I have to go to the Asian market. But for me, that's really where we're going back to the whole cuisine thing. It's really the ingredients that you have that I think, for the most part, will separate what you can make at home and like in your kitchens. Like I have to go to I've been making a list of stuff that I need to get. And so from where I live, the Asian markets are, a good 25 minutes away. So it's not like I can go there every day or on a whim, but like my new list, some of the more like, so what I need is like bean sprouts you can get, garlic chives would be nice. That's not so, preserved sweet radish, that's an important one. But like three of the ingredients that I'm really trying to get now are like Szechuan peppercorns, because I'm almost out, palm sugar, and tamarind paste, because I've got this whole urge to make more pad thai, but I don't have, the two key ingredients for the pad thai base is the palm sugar and the tamarind paste. And of course you have to have fish sauce, but I have that. But like those are kind of, you just can't go to Giant and get those things, so I have to go get them. I'm presuming that you can. I just haven't, like I said, the Asian markets are kind of far. It would be kind of like, okay, this would be the extreme. Like it would be kind of like you had to go from your place to Riverside to Mitsuo Market to get something. It's kind of like it's that's probably farther than I would have to go, but it's kind of that same kind of effort, right? You have to kind of go to a certain place that has it. But I presume that the Asian markets have the time. I mean, to me, I would like to get some boba as well. I keep thinking I'm going to make boba. I don't know why I keep thinking that. I probably won't. Like I could have it and I won't. Like, for example, I've been meaning to make my own hummus for like 8, 9, 10 months. I got the chickpeas. I got everything I need. I just don't make it because I'm just like, once I make it, then I've got all this hummus. And what am I going to do with it? Freeze it more? I don't know. Check the gluten-free section of the grocery store. I think Wegmans does have it. I just hate going to Wegmans. Unless I go at like 8 o'clock in the morning. Much more manageable. Actually, the last time I was at Wegmans, I ended up doing that, going to 8 o'clock. Like, that's another thing I'm looking for. Mortadella. Like, mortadella is not easy to find. Like, they had it at Wegmans. They don't have it at Giant. They don't have it at Food Line. They don't have it at Aldi or Lidl. They probably don't have it at Safeway. So I think tomorrow, if I go down to the Brazilian market, I'm also going to go over to Di Pasquale. There's a total friend of mine that I go down with him and get some proper. They have some Italian. He was telling me they have imported Italian mortadella, and I was like, oh, okay, that's good. That's good. I'm kind of like in this mood of trying to make this. So in Sao Paulo, there's a big thing. The mortadella sandwiches are a big thing, and they're super huge. Like they're like that big. And I've just kind of been thinking about them. Like, oh, I'd like to make one. Rusty says, I'm going to the Asian market. All right, I'll let you know if I can't find it. But the nice thing about here, we've got enough stuff here. Like most of the Asian markets, like the bigger ones, Lotte and H Mart are focused on like Korean. They have a lot of other stuff, but it's mostly Korean, of course. And then now there's a new place called Great Wall, which is very heavily Chinese influence, which is great. And then they do have a couple Filipino markets in the area that I can go to get like more of the Filipino stuff. So in Baltimore, we're pretty good with like ingredients. It's just that they're not necessarily close to where I live. They're like farther out. So Brian wants to know, how do you know the difference between good boba and inconsistent boba? Oh, well, the traditional boba, the old school boba, like when I was growing up, the boba that we would eat were actually the clear white ones instead of the black ones you see in bubble tea. So that's what I grew up eating. And like boba tapioca balls are actually kind of a pain in the butt to make. Like my aunt's really good at making it. And you really have to use a lot of water. Otherwise it starts to break down and get gloopy. And they really only last a couple hours. Once you cook them all the way through. So you got to like cook them with a lot of water and then replace the water and then cool it and then utilize it. And if you don't utilize it within a couple hours, it gets hard. So these boba tea places, they're actually making boba all day long. Because when we did it for a while at Spro, making the boba, and it kind of sucked making. Like I was like, oh, we're a coffee place. Well, we're not a boba shop. I don't have the passion for boba. Oh, and Rusty says there's a report lately about chickpea shortage soon. Oh, well, I got chickpeas. I got more chickpeas than I'm utilizing. And I got the dry ones, not the canned ones. I don't know. Is there really a big difference? The canned are so much easier. I don't know why, but I bought the ones because the dried, because you can just keep them for forever on it. And I've got tons of stuff frozen. Like I got too much stuff frozen. We're gonna have a bit of meat. I've been buying meats for the event. You know, not deli meats, but like meats, so we can grill it up as we go along. I love the idea of just sitting around grilling meat and like sausages and whatever. So I got a bit of that. And then Rusty said, do you have a deli slicer at the roastery? I do not. I may have a deli slicer. So years ago, I had a deli slicer, a real nice one, a Univex, right? And then a friend of mine borrowed it. He's probably had it now for 10 years. Or at least, yeah, maybe 10 years. It's been a long time. Like I didn't have a use for it. So he wanted to borrow it. I just heard from a friend of mine that had it, and he maybe I'll get it back next week, finally. Because I was thinking about making more coleslaw. You know, if you make a bunch of like coleslaw, having to chop it by hand. I mean, you slice it by hand. It's not a big deal. It's easy. It's not hard. It's easy. But when you have it on the slicer, you can do it real thin. And you know. But years ago at the J. Shave Ice place in Timonium, we actually made sandwiches, and I was so obsessed with like making our own sandwiches with boar's head meat and cutting it all fresh. And so I bought a Univex years ago. Maybe I'll get it back in time. Oh, so Tony's now changed to Cuban style leche asado and some green chili cheddar corn cakes instead of the brisket. Okay, or instead of the ribs. Sounds good. Sounds good. Does sound awesome. It does sound awesome. So still, still very consistent. Like this is actually really great. I think I'm enjoying it more now than earlier. When it comes to fresh raw oysters, my answer is always yes. But it's not an R month. That doesn't matter. I used to get like a bushel of oysters. Like for several years, I would get bushels of oysters, a big bag of oysters for Christmas time. And I just sit around shucking oysters, a little bit of lemon, a little bit of cocktail sauce. Actually, I prefer oysters raw than cooked. Like, I don't really enjoy them cooked. Like, oysters Rockefeller, it's nice. It's nice. But I much prefer it raw, like that brininess with either the cocktail sauce or the murette. Actually, if I put cocktail sauce, I want a little more horseradish, maybe even a little more Tabasco, just to give it that like. Still doing shrimp and andouille skewers. Excellent. We have a grill. We have a grill, small. I have a medium-sized Weber style grill. Small. The one small Weber, not the medium, the small. So I have a small Weber kettle and a small tabletop cornrow grill available. And Brian says he loves raw cook. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. So much. I don't know. I just love that so much better. You know what I've been also thinking about lately is I just haven't made it in a while. Is moules mouclade. Mussels and curry sauce with some frites. Oh, I would like to make that. Also, whatever you want to make, I think I still have plenty of chicken stock here. Every once in a while, I'll make a big batch of chicken stock and then portion it out, freeze it, and then I can use it as necessary. And so we'll have that. We can have that if you need chicken stock for any kind of cooking. Oh yeah, man! I think we'll have a nice time. And Tony says cooked if it's the Tio Pepe's crab stuff with the 303 sauce. Oh. Tio Pepe's, Tio Pepe's such a, what sauce is that? 303 sauce? Is that a Siri thing or is that actually the name? I should go back and try more Tio Pepe's. The last time I went there it was a long time ago now, well over 5, 6, 7, 8 years, maybe 10 years ago. I went there with my cousins and one of the things we ordered was the paella. And gosh almighty, that was some terrible, terrible, terrible paella. Like some of the worst I've ever had. All like soupy. And like I was so kind of irritated, right? And for those of you who are not from the area, Tio Pepe's is like the classic Spanish restaurant in Baltimore. It's like the old school. It's been here generations. It's super well regarded. But this paella was soupy. And I was like, what is this? And I asked the guy, I said, what's wrong with the paella? Why is it soupy? And he got offended. He was like, well, if you didn't want it soupy, you should have told us. And I was like, what am I supposed to tell you that I don't want soupy paella? Like, you're Spanish. You're the Spanish people. Like, I'm the Filipino guy. Why am I telling you how to make the paella? Like, I've never had paella anywhere that was like this. This is like, it was like the worst. Champagne cream and butter. Oh, with saffron. Nice. But is it actually called the 303 sauce? I'm actually so torn about saffron. Like, it's so expensive. Like, if you get good quality saffron, it's like so expensive. It's like, do I want to use it? Like in Middle Eastern cooking, you use the saffron and you kind of like make this saffron yellow liquid with the saffron. Like you toast it a little bit and then you like grind it and you mix it with water and then you use that to flavor the rice. And it's kind of like, oh, I'm spending all this money just to flavor rice. I'm a little bit wigged out by that. Tony says, in fairness, they do cook for. I mean, I get that, but here's the thing: it's like maybe it's probably a generational thing, and like I equate it to like what we do with coffee, right? Like we could make coffee for the lowest common denominator, right? We could make a dumbed down product, a product that's easier for everyone to consume, but it's not beautiful, right? It's not beauty, and we make it at a very high level because we want people to experience and appreciate that. And I think, I don't know, I feel like when you have your own home cuisine, like Spain, like with wonderful, wonderful foods, that I do believe that if you make it really well, people respond well to it. I don't know, just a thought. Oh, it is called 303. Okay, great. What I've been making a little bit more lately is the torta española, which is the Spanish torta, so the eggs with the potatoes. And I was telling my niece about it, and she was like, well, I don't really like potatoes. I was like, what? You don't like potatoes? What's wrong with you? She's like, I like sweet potatoes. And I was thinking, oh, sweet potato torta española. I wonder if that would be all right. So I think I'm going to make it one day. Oh, break out the large rice cooker that way. Oh, okay, yes. I have to. Actually, here's the crazy thing. I have to get the rice cooker. So here's the question for you. So since I'm always by myself here at the roastery, I make rice for myself, either in the donabe, which is very rare because it's a lot more work, or I use the induction and use a pot on the stove. And I got it down. Like, I make beautiful rice, but it's only enough for myself because it's in a small pot. It's only like a cup at a time. Of course, at home, we've got the Zojirushi. And then I also have a commercial rice maker. But I mean, it's like 30 cups. It's massive. It's massive. It's massive. It's like this. It's what you see at like sushi restaurants, right? It's massive. And I've used that a couple times for big parties. But like, how much rice do you think we should be making? I had to prepare for that. Not a dumb question because, not everybody has an ice maker, but I did take the ice maker, the Hoshizaki half crescent ice maker from the shop in Hamden. When we closed that down a year ago, that was like one of the things I'm like, I will keep that one. I kept from that shop, I kept, there was a couple of equipment I was going to keep. I was going to keep the espresso machine, the grinders, the vacuum, the chamber vacuum sealer, the mixer, the large tabletop mixer, and the ice machine. Those are the only things that I kept. I was like, no, we're not auctioning any of those. I'm taking those home. So I've got ice coming out of. I got ice. Oh, and what I found recently over the last month, like I used to just keep the Coke, the cans of Coke, just leave them out. Lately, I've been taking one can of Coke at a time and dumping it into the ice bin. So whenever I decide to have a Coke, man, it's ice cold. It's that burning crispiness. Oh man, it's so nice like that. So yes, no problem with the ice. We have plenty of ice. So when I go to Italy, I should not be annoyed with this. You should be annoyed. You should definitely be annoyed by that. Definitely be annoyed. Proper Italian restaurants should be making their own meatballs, for God's sake. Like years ago, when I was much younger, we would go like late night. There's a place called Sabatino's. And Sabatino's is one of these old, like, Italian restaurants that's been there for generations. And we would get their gnocchi. So you go there late at night, like 2 a.m, gnocchi and meatball. Oh, that was good times. I don't know if it's really great. Like, we went there one time. I took this girl I was dating years ago, probably 12 years ago. And I took her out to have Sabatino. She's like, I wanted some lasagna. So I went to Sabatino's. Man, that lasagna was some of the worst I've ever had. Like, just inedible. Just, oh, God, gloopy and like mushy and flavors were bad. Oh, man. But I do remember the gnocchi being very good. Other than that, other than that, I'm scared to have it. Agreed. Oh, gnocchi with blue cheese. Oh, yeah, that's nice. That's nice, too. The Sabatino's always had just the gnocchi with, like, just their red sauce. And it's simple. And I really, I'm like, 25, 30, 40, 35, whatever. And 2 a.m, I can appreciate very simple food like that. I think it's always like simple foods that are not too like, they have a place and a time that they're really great. And then if you eat them outside that time, it's not so enjoyable. Like those greasy spoons that you go late night after you've been out partying Those are great. Like we used to go to this place called the Buttery, like at 4 or 5 in the morning after a night of clubbing, and that was always fantastic. It's probably terrible, but it was always fantastic for what it was. There's Cisco Mama, somebody but oh yeah, Cisco, gosh. You know what I can't find? So this reminds me, I was at the Cisco store several months ago because I'm always looking for A1 steak sauce. Yeah, I know. But I do love, once in a while, with cheap cuts of meat, I do enjoy A1 steak sauce. But A1 is so expensive. Like when you look at the price, it's so expensive. It's like $5.50 for the big bottle at the grocery store. I'm like, my God. So I would actually sit there and calculate, what is that per ounce? And then I went to the Cisco store and they had a gallon, right, the gallon jug. And so I was like, I'm going to buy that. And then I was calculating the price. It was like $48 for 128 ounces, which was almost the same price as buying it by the bottle. I was so irritated. I was like, what is the deal here? I expected to get like a really super deal, like $30 for the gallon of A1, but it was $50. And I was like, oh man, that's not worth it. That's not worth it. Cisco in bulk. Yeah. That's a conversation. Like the Cisco thing reminds me of a conversation I had with someone recently that's in the food business, and like that was in agriculture. And you know, I've always worked with a lot of like local farmers and high quality ingredients and spending crazy amounts of money for these products. And like, you know, and now this year I've been growing. I'm not really a gardener. Like I'm terrible at growing stuff. But this year I decided I did some basil last summer and I was like, I'm going to go more deeper into herbs this year. Right. And so I'm growing right now basil, a bunch of tomatoes. I got some purple potatoes and I'm growing. I don't know why I just had some purple potatoes left over and they were starting to sprout. So I just tossed them in a big pot and it's like growing now. But so I've got basil. Dill has been a complete disaster. I guess the monarch butterflies are really, I was just talking to a gardener yesterday. The monarch butterflies are really into them. So my basil looks like just like twigs and there's a big bunch of seeds on it. So it's like, okay, that's disaster. But I've got sage, tarragon, parsley, cilantro. I think that's it. Some lavender and rosemary and thyme. And like, it's great because I can just go out there. Like I made some pasta today. So I just grabbed some parsley and chopped it up. It's fantastic. But the problem is like, for you to really cook, like you need quantity. Like I'm growing green onions as well. And like, I look at the bundle of green onions that I buy and I look at the amount of green onions that I'm growing. And it's like, that green onions, those green onions that I'm growing will not last. Like, I mean, it's kind of crazy. So I was talking to someone in agriculture recently the other day, and we're talking about like food production and like, you know, my chef friends and we talk about food before and like, you know, local producers and all that and having everything grown locally. And I keep going back to the whole thing of like, we have industrial production of food. We have 350 million people in America that eat 3 meals a day. That's what, 1.3 billion meals a day? 1.3 billion meals a day. How do we have enough food to feed that? Just to survive one day? Like, that's just incredible to me. I was talking to this ag guy because we were talking about climate change and how climate change is changing all of the growing the regions. Like certain regions can't grow certain things anymore because now it's getting too hot. Like coffee, for example, is a great example where, you know, we're starting to see coffee production fall because you have to go farther up the mountain in order to have the right temperature and climate. But there's only so much mountain you can go up, right? There's mountains are finite, right? You just can't keep going. Like, so I'm just like, wow, it's really amazing. Do you have restaurant? Yes, we do have Restaurant Depot. We have Restaurant Depot as we have the restaurant store. So pretty much whatever you need, we can source. If you need to go to Restaurant Depot, there's actually one close to. No, the Restaurant Depot is actually closer to Raul's place. So probably want to, if you're going to go there, probably good to come down early in the day on Friday so we can go check that out. I have membership there, so that's not a problem if you don't have one. And then there's also another place called the Restaurant Store, but the Restaurant Store is really more geared to dry goods, pantry goods, rather than fresh goods. And you already know what Restaurant Depot has. And let's not confuse good meatball with good bull ball. We should not confuse that. That's important. Although I have never had those bull balls. What do they call them? The Colorado oysters or something like that? Cowboy oysters. I would like to try that. Another thing I haven't made in a long time, and it's been a long time since I made this, is a proper like porchetta from the head of the pig, where you get the whole head, and then you basically debone the head, and then you roll it, and then you season it, roll it, tie it, bag it, and then, well, we would bag it and then sous vide it. Oh man, that was good. A little bit of curing salt and some herbs, regular salt, and just that was good times, man. Good times. Rocky Mountain oysters. There we go. Rocky Mountain oysters. That's it. Thank you. Thank you. So the cigar's coming along, almost done, but you know what? It's very consistent. It's really, really quite enjoyable. I have to give it 8s all the way across. Burn and draw has been very good. I'm going to give that a 9. Consistency 9. Overall, I think we can say 8.5 for that. Now let's see, 7. Darn it, 7. That gives us a total score of 81.5. I don't know why I don't populate this earlier in the day. All right, let's see here. 81.5. Whoops. That drops us right, a tie with the Stolen Throne 3 Kingdoms in 8th place, 7th, 8th place. Excellent. So not bad, not bad. Brian says his uncle used to prepare after castrating bulls. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if I ever had a well-prepared version. Uncles. I haven't tried any to even know what the difference could be yet. And then Brian says he also completed all 5 rope courses at Go Ape in Delaware. What in the world is that? Oh, it's a zip line place. Huh, okay. Oh, interesting. Treetop Adventure, Treetop Journey. Oh, that sounds like fun. I've actually never done zip lines. I've always wanted to do it. I don't know if they would allow people like me to do zip lines. I have to be honest, man. I was so it was 7 years ago. It was bad, but 7 years ago, I went to my first trip to Dubai. I told my friend, hey, man, I want to go check out Abu Dhabi. I want to go to Ferrari World. So we drove down to Ferrari World. And they have like the F1 roller coaster there. I'm too fat to fit in the roller coaster. I was not able to ride. They could not lock me in. I'm very embarrassed about that. It's terrible. They make you sign a waiver as well as they definitely the waiver. Whoa, 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 whoa. I would love to try that though. It'd be kind of fun. I keep thinking though that I would like to get a full harness and then use the 30,000-pound crane at Comac and do some flying. But of course, if you land the wrong way, man, like you could like really mess yourself up. And I don't know if that's worth it. I'm scared. It's true. I'm scared. So that cigar, that was good. That was a good smoke. I always ask the question, would I buy it again? Yeah, I think that would be worth buying again. It wasn't a cigar that was super like smashing and super stellar. Like it didn't like bang it. Like it wasn't like thunder and lightning, but it was very good. It was very good, very consistent throughout the whole time. Very enjoyable. Oh, speaking of thunder, I did go see Tuesday afternoon. I went to the matinee showing of Thor: Love and Thunder. Still good. Enjoyable. Brian says the problem is you have to finish a rope course to get to the zip line. I'm going to be so. What does that mean, rope course? Treetop, is that the Treetop Adventure? Oh yeah. I would not make that. Like I'm not physically fit enough to do all that. Oh yeah, max weight 285. I'm only 250. No. Yeah, I can't do that. I'm embarrassed now. I can't do that. I enjoyed it. Thor was enjoyable. Anytime to see Tessa Thompson, I'm happy to go watch a movie. And then of course there's Natalie Portman, who still looks really great. Actually, I turned down a friend of mine does catering. And every once in a while, he gets called to do movie catering. And so he called me up one day and he's like, hey, man, you want to come and join me? The catering starts at midnight to 5 a.m. And I was like, dude, I would totally go. But I had something to do the next day that I really had to do. And I couldn't like push it off. And so I was like, I have to be responsible for this. I can't go. And he was like, dude, Natalie Portman is one of those stars. I was like, you think Natalie's going to come to the table? He's like, oh yeah, dude, she always comes. Oh. I told him, all right, man, the next time they call you, you call me. I'm going to come no matter what time it is. I'm going to come down and see Natalie Portman myself. Have the opportunity to declare my love. Although I think she's married now, so it'll be unrequited. As long as your niece enjoyed it, yeah, as long as she enjoys it. I think it's a fun movie. Like, it's directed by Taika Waititi, which is cool. Like he puts a couple cultural references in them. They're real subtle. Like you have to know the culture. Like you see a couple Maori characters in it. Like Taika Waititi, he's from New Zealand, and he's actually Maori by ethnicity, descent. And he works in a couple Maori appearances. And I think that's very cool. All right, so we're pretty much at the end of the smoke. So I think I guess we'll have to call it there now. It's been a good time. She loved it except the Tarzan jump into a cargo net. Oh. She hit hard. Huh? Yeah, that's never fun. All right, I guess we're going to call it then. Thank you very much for tuning in. And I don't have a schedule of cigars yet for next week and the week after. I actually haven't been to the cigar shop. I probably have to get there in the next couple of days or over the weekend. And speaking of, I probably won't get over the weekend because this weekend is shore leave here at the Hunt Valley Delta, which is just down the road. And shore leave is the big sci-fi convention, and I'm going to go check it out tomorrow and maybe Saturday, Sunday. For those of you who are local here, I think I'm going to see Al there because his wife is going to go. Ari is evidently very much a Voyager Star Trek fan, so it should be good. Yeah, good to see you guys all. Thank you for tuning in. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That'd be great. That'll be great. All right, so I guess that'll be it. We're gonna come back. Mom, good to have you here as always. And we're gonna see you guys next week, Thursday, on at 8 p.m. As always. We'll have a new cigar for that lineup. I'll have that. I'll try to have that done by Monday or Tuesday so that have a listing for it, and then we can see if we grab some of those cigars. All right, so definitely, and put this down now. I'm really enjoying it because I'm trying to smoke it very, very much to the end. I'm sure he'll be here on that day. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. See you guys next week. Until then, have a great time.